Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome all the members and observers of the committee to the 416th meeting of the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People. This meeting is called to order. The agenda of this meeting, is before the committee in document A/AC183/2024/L2. Agenda item number 4 is postponed due to Mr. Paul Reichler, Counsel for the State of Palestine, being unwell. He was scheduled to discuss the request for advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice on the legal consequences of Israel's policies in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. If I hear no objections, I shall consider it adopted. It is so decided. I now invite the committee to consider candidatures for the positions of vice chairs of the Bureau and rapporteur of the committee. I would like to start with an overview of the procedures for electing vice chairs of the committee bureau. Only committee members who submitted their candidatures by a note verbal to the committee secretariat before the deadline of February the 1st, 2024 are eligible for consideration in today's elections. The secretariat of the committee has received the following candidatures: His Excellency Mr. Gerardo Penalva Portal, Permanent Representative of Cuba; His Excellency Mr. Armanata Christiawan Nasir, Permanent Representative of Indonesia; His Excellency Mr. Ahmad Faisal Mohammed, Permanent Representative of Malaysia; His Excellency Mr. Neville Melvin Goetz, Permanent Representative of Namibia; His Excellency Mr. Jaime Hermida Castillo, Permanent Representative of Nicaragua. Before we proceed with the election, are there any comments or questions? I see none. I give the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of any elected member of the Bureau to take the floor if this is their wish. I see none. Since there are no other requests, no objections from the floor, I shall take it that the committee approves the proposal just made and unanimously elects as vice chairs His Excellency Mr. Gerardo Penalva Portal, Permanent Representative of Cuba; His Excellency Mr. Armanata Christian Wan Nasir, Permanent Representative of Indonesia; His Excellency Mr. Ahmad Faisal Mohammed, Permanent Representative of Malaysia; His Excellency Mr. Neville Melvin Goetz, Permanent Representative of Namibia; His Excellency Mr. Jaime Hermida Castillo, Permanent Representative of Nicaragua. I also take it that the committee unanimously elects as vice chair, as I mentioned earlier, and rapporteur, His Excellency Mr. Ahmad Faisal Mohammed, Permanent Representative of Malaysia, who is also elected as a rapporteur. I congratulate the elected vice chairs of the committee bureau and the elected vice chair and rapporteur. This concludes the election of officers. It is so decided. Turning to agenda item 3, I now have the distinct honor of giving the floor to Minister Riyad Mansour. He will give us an update You want to take the floor? Yeah. Okay. Okay, before moving to agenda item 3, I see that Cuba wants to take the floor. I give the floor to Cuba.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to express our recognition to you and the Secretariat for the work you've put in to organize this important meeting. I would also like to congratulate the Vice Chairs from Indonesia, Namibia, Indonesia and Malaysia upon their election as Vice Chairs, and Malaysia upon their election as the Rapporteur. I would also like to congratulate you, sir, upon your re-election to head the committee once again. In terms of the responsibility that this committee has placed upon us as re-electing us as vice chairs, I would like to express our deep appreciation and recognition for this important responsibility that we are taking on. This is majorly significant for our country. We hold dear the defense of the cause of the Palestinian people. We are taking on this responsibility as a commitment to continue to struggle within our position at the UN to see a genuine peace process in this part of the world. We were interested to see the various proposals that were submitted, and this is in light of the various crimes that are being committed against the Palestinian people, as we have heard recently in various UN fora. This includes statements provided by the ambassador, Mr. Mansour. I have to say that we are willing to support any initiative that is geared towards putting an end to the disaster that Israel has unleashed on the Palestinian people. Finally, our colleagues on the committee, and in particular to our Palestinian colleagues, we will guarantee that we will not cease to continue fighting for a just solution to this issue on the basis of the two-state solution, which will allow the Palestinian people to have the right to self-determination and to have their own independent sovereign state with East Jerusalem as its capital, in line with the pre-1967 borders that also allows for refugees to return. Once again, thank you very much for placing your trust in Cuba, and we won't let you down.
I thank the permanent representative of Cuba for his statement. Let's now go to agenda item 3, update by the permanent mission, observer mission of the State of Palestine. And I have this distinct honor to give the floor to Minister Riyad Mansour. Have the floor, Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and allow me at the beginning to extend again to you my congratulations and to all of my colleagues who have been elected to the Bureau, and to express to them that the delegation of the State of Palestine at the United Nations will continue to work very closely with you, and also that to tell you and through you to the members of the committee and the observers that we are extremely grateful for all of the work that you do in advancing the cause of the Palestinian people in attaining their inalienable rights, including their right to self-determination, statehood, and the right of the refugees to return to their homes and properties. Now, as you all know, that we have been for the last 157 days moving from one place to another, from the Security Council to the General Assembly, to the Secretary General, to the ICJ, to the Human Rights Council, for accomplishing the 3 objectives in which we were able to unite all components of the UN, maybe with the exception of very few countries, to put an end to this aggression against our people, to have ceasefire now. We've been asking for that from the beginning of this aggression. We succeeded in having 2 resolutions in the Security Council, but we did not succeed yet in having a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire. We will continue knocking on the door of the Security Council with your efforts, with your help, along with other groups such as the Arab Group, OIC, NAM, and the African Group, the Latin American groups, just to mention a few groups. There is a massive support for this call, but yet there is a country in the Security Council that has a veto power that did not allow all the efforts for having a clear resolution stating ceasefire to prevail. And the other, of course, objective was to have humanitarian assistance to our people up to the scale of their needs, and their needs are huge. Our people are now starving. We're having strong evidence of famine, especially in the northern part of Gaza. And as we enter today in some countries, tomorrow in other countries, the holy month of Ramadan, to continue with this crime of killing our people either by bombing or by starvation is a stain in the conscience of the international community for not being able to succeed to address these issues. And the last thing, of course, is not to allow the crime against humanity of forced transfer of our people in the south to Egypt to become refugees for the second time, Nakba number 2, and the danger of the invasion of Rafah. These objectives are still there. As I said, we went to the Security Council. We had many failed products. We had a number of resolutions adopted. In this connection, we are grateful for the effort of our brothers, particularly from Algeria, who have been leading the effort in this regard since they took the post of being a member of the Security Council. Of course, United Arab Emirates before them was carrying the torch, and we are grateful for both of them. And we are grateful, of course, for our brothers and sisters who are members of this group and who are, part of either the NAM caucus in the Security Council or the 3+1, the 3 African countries plus Guyana, for taking also the lead in this regard. In the General Assembly, as you all know, we went 3 times. 2 times of them the resumed 10th emergency session, and we succeeded in legislating 2 resolutions. The last one talked clearly about humanitarian ceasefire, echoing, the request of the Secretary General when he invoked his authorities under Article 99 of the Charter. So the General Assembly assumed its responsibility in these 2 resolutions, and the third one we took just recently under the veto initiative, in which large number of you took the floor and criticized and rejected the abuse of the veto that did not allow the Security Council to adopt the resolution calling for a ceasefire, in spite of the support of maybe 13.5, maybe 13.75 of members of the Security Council and 1 casting the veto. We will continue knocking on the door of the General Assembly and to increase the pressure. And also, what happened in the ICJ by South Africa, which we express our gratitude to them when they took the issue of the plausible, genocide, and the ICJ requested or asked for the 6 provisional measures. Israel did not implement them. They did submit their report, which I think that our brothers and sisters in South Africa felt that it did not meet what the ICJ asked for. And then they asked the ICJ for further measures, particularly with the famine situation, particularly in the northern part of Gaza, and warning of additional catastrophes if Israel to invade Rafah. Of course, that issue is still before the court, in addition to our continuous efforts with all of you, and we are thankful to the many of you who did submit in writing in the first submission requirement in the case of the General Assembly and the questions of the General Assembly for an advisory opinion before the ICJ. And also that some of you who also did the second rebuttal of the written submissions, and the many of you also who participated in the oral submission that took place between the 19th to the 26th of February. We are grateful for all these efforts. We are waiting for the ICJ to render its opinion on the questions asked by the General Assembly about the essence of occupation, about the legal ramifications of prolonged occupation, denial of the rights of the Palestinian people to self-determination for a long period of time, and the system of discrimination, apartheid, that has been put against the Palestinian people in Palestine, and in addition, of course, to the annexation, settlements, all the questions that were contained in the major two questions. Now, you know that the logical thing to do is to increase the pressure on Israel and those who shield Israel for, number one, accomplishing the objective of the ceasefire and the other two objectives, assistance to scale and to stop the mass transfer. But, you know, what we did so far did not produce these results. Therefore, we have been talking with many countries, including with you, that we need to raise the bar higher. We need to start calling for things like to have an armed embargo against Israel in terms of weapons and ammunition, to increase the pressure on the settlement community, but not having only sanctions against 4 and 12, 4 as some suggested, 12 as Spain suggested, 12 individuals. We believe that the sanctions should be much larger than that to cover the entire community of settlers, because anything that is stemming from an illegal system, since settlements are illegal, is illegal, and it has to be treated as such. In addition to some organizations among the settler communities to be labeled as terrorist organizations, because they are terrorizing our civilian population in the occupied West Bank and in East Jerusalem. And even, you know, the idea is being now put in the discussion platform with regard to a country that does not respect its obligation under international law and the Charter, and rejects the implementation of Security Council and General Assembly resolutions, along with the provisional measures from the ICJ. We are questioning that they do not deserve to be sitting with us in the General Assembly and to follow the model of South Africa in the 60s and 70s, when the General Assembly denied them their seat in the General Assembly and in the major committees of the General Assembly. Here we're not talking about suspending the membership of the State of Israel, which is a bigger task, than just only freezing their, not allowing them to participate in the work and meetings and votings in the affairs of the General Assembly and the major committees of the General Assembly. I don't know whether some of you saw or not the reaction of the Israeli leadership regarding this issue. They considered that we will be crossing a red line, and then they, instead of listening to the basis for why we are pushing in this regard, and therefore to stop the crimes against our people in Gaza and to accept the calls for ceasefire, they are doubling down, and they're saying if something like this happens, we are going to kick the UN entirely from the region, and we will take additional measures to make the life of the Palestinian people even more difficult. So, but these things that we need to continue talking about them, so that perhaps with these additional elements, meaning raising the pressure more, we might be able to get closer to stopping this war. Now, of course, as you all know, we together legislated in the summit of the Arab countries and the OIC, for those of you who are members of such organizations, and NAM, the summit in NAM, in which I assume all of you are members of these organizations, be it NAM, be it the Arab Group or the OIC, in which unanimously in the last summit of NAM supported all these issues that I am raising about in general. And also they are supportive of the admission of the State of Palestine for membership and the call for and legislating a resolution in the General Assembly for calling for an international conference. So in this regard, we will be working more actively with all of you and others to move into the Security Council soon with the intention of submitting a draft resolution. The language of that resolution would be the Security Council to recommend the admission of the State of Palestine to membership. And that is an investment in peace, investment in preserving the two-state solution, and not to allow Israel, the occupying power, to determine our destiny for us in terms of our statehood. That is the domain of the Palestinian people and the international community that is calling for the two-state solution. So these are the things that we will be moving in their direction in the weeks and maybe next 2 months to try to change the situation from reiterating our support to the two-state solution by beginning the process of implementing the two-state resolution, meaning that, that the international conference, and to strengthen the work of the conference by admitting the State of Palestine as a member. So therefore, the two member states that Resolution 181 called for their establishment, the partition plan, would be the component of this international conference for the implementation of making the two-state solution a reality, meaning the end of occupation and the independence of the State of Palestine on the 4th of June of 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. So as you see, we have a tall order before us, and we count fully on the committee, which has a mandate from the General Assembly for the attainment of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to self-determination, statehood, and the return of the refugees to their homes and properties. So therefore, this program that we are talking about it gives the committee additional tools to get closer to the attainment of the objective in line with its mandate. Let me conclude by saying also that we tried for the first time bringing, victims of the war in Gaza and their families. We had 10 of them, and they met with the SG, met with with all members of the Security Council, met with the groups, the OIC, Arab Group, NAM, and members of the committee, and listened to their testimonies and engaged them in discussions. We had a press conference for them, and they met with the European Union. That experience was so moving and so powerful and so impacting that we will be considering doing more of this stuff, because we want the victims and their families to come and tell their own stories with all of its pain, with all of its details. And we discovered that that kind of an opportunity available to the international community, it make our case much, much more stronger than delivering statements and drafting resolutions and voting on them. So that component, we will try to expand it. We look for your help in this regard, and we will see how creative we can be in dealing with it. We know that there are victims, children, who are in hospitals in this area around New York and in other cities in the United States. We are grateful for those who are making it available to them to be provided with treatment, if we can, and if it is proper, to either invite them to meet the international community or have delegations to visit them. We will consider all these things, provided that their doctors, their families, those who are sponsoring them, think that this is the right thing to do without creating any harm or damage to them, in addition to the massive damage that they're going through physically and emotionally because of the crimes committed against them by the Israeli side. This is where we are. We are grateful to people like the Secretary General Ansima Bahout. Last Friday, I believe in this room or in the ECOSOC, that they, in their commemoration or celebration of International Women's Day, 8th of March, that they called for ceasefire, and that call received the longest ovation and clapping from the large packed house in the United Nations. We know that this message is not a message of almost the entire international community through states, but also it is the feeling and the positions of millions, perhaps billions of people who are demonstrating in the streets to put an end to this crime and to have ceasefire now. Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, you know that I am in your hands. I tried to cover so many bases as quickly as I can. This committee is an extremely important committee for us. It is the committee, the unique committee of its kind left at the United Nations. It has a mandate from the General Assembly. It is crystal clear mandate. And I can also say that part of your mandate, join all the other forces who are fighting for protecting UNRWA, shielding UNRWA from attempts of destruction by the Israeli occupying forces, and help UNRWA to be sustained financially, because others or some who are trying to destroy it politically and financially. UNRWA is indispensable. It is an extremely important agency that looks after around 6 million refugees, and especially now in Gaza, UNRWA is needed more than ever, and I am sure that it will be on top of the agenda of the committee as we move forward and as we hopefully succeed in putting an end to the war and begin the process of attending the wounds of our people and reconstructing the Gaza Strip. I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If there are questions, anything that you require from me that I can respond to it, I will be more than happy to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank Minister Riyad Mansour for his informative remarks. And let me express my heartfelt gratitude to all member states for the invaluable statement submitted to the ICJ in The Hague. Also, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to all member states who have demonstrated keen interest in the committee's work, particularly on this matter. Your active contributions are truly appreciated. I would like to open the floor for comments or questions by committee members and observers. I can see Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We congratulate the members of the Bureau on their election. We are certain that their tireless efforts will continue to elevate the invaluable work of this committee. Today marks the start of the holy month of Ramadan, yet the bloodshed continues in Gaza in its 6th month. As the Palestinian people are facing the biggest tragedy in recent history, the work of this committee proves to be more crucial than ever. Our demand is clear: an immediate ceasefire. This would honor the spirit of Ramadan that represent the values of peace and reconciliation. Mr. Chair, we submitted our written statement at the ICJ last year, and our Deputy Foreign Minister presented Turkey's oral statement before the ICJ as well. My country will continue to work with this committee in a full spirit of solidarity to advocate an immediate ceasefire, unimpeded humanitarian aid, which is desperately needed, the rejection of relocation of Palestinians, compliance with international law, and we will continue to promote the realization of inalienable rights of Palestinian people. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the distinguished representative of Turkey for her statement. I can see Indonesia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Let me firstly express our appreciation to you for your continued commitment and leadership to advancing our work in the committee. We also express our appreciation to the Secretariat for their work and their continued support. I thank Minister Mansour for his briefing. Indonesia supports and continues to and will continue to discuss on the various approaches and objectives that he has outlined. Chair, I take this opportunity to congratulate my fellow Vice Chair, the Ambassador of Cuba, Ambassador of Malaysia, Ambassador of Namibia, and Ambassador of Nicaragua for their re-election. Indonesia is committed to working with all members in achieving the mandate of our committee. It is unfortunate that the committee's objective is continuously being undermined, not least by the ongoing brutal attacks in Gaza. It is unthinkable, as stated by the delegation of Turkey, that during the first day of Ramadan, the people of Gaza continues to endure pain and hardship. Humanitarian aid continues to be blocked. Even the holy month of Ramadan means nothing to the occupying power. Last week, we heard in the General Assembly how UNRWA, the lifeline of millions of Palestinian refugees, is under attack. We in the committee must intensify our actions to stand behind UNRWA. While Indonesia has tripled and front-loaded this year's contribution, we need to do more and to continue to outreach to all donors that have suspended funding to reverse their decision for the sake of humanity. We must also, in the committee, continuously ensure that international law, including ICJ provisional measures, are upheld. In this context, Indonesia supports the South African recent move to request additional emergency measures to the ICJ. in light of the current situation and the disregard of the decision of the ICJ, provisional decision of the ICJ. Chair, the committee must work together to make things right, including how we can support the strategies outlined by Minister Mansour earlier. This is particularly important, especially now when the world is increasingly asking, what is the UN doing to help the Palestinians? Thank you, Chair.
I thank the permanent representative of Indonesia for his statement. I now give the floor to Nicaragua.
Muy buenos días.
A very good morning to everybody. Distinguished Chairman, first of all, I would like to express our deep thanks to you and the Secretariat and all members of the committee for the work that the committee does to fulfill the mandate that Mr. Mansour very correctly described, which is to do our utmost to ensure that the United Nations can genuinely help the Palestinian people in exercising their inalienable rights. Our thoughts and solidarity are always with the Palestinian people. At the beginning of this bloody month of Ramadan for all of our brothers and sisters and friends, we also greet all of them at this month. Now, more than ever, UNRWA needs to be supported, as Palestine has asked for, so that the aid can get in immediately. And all governments who have suspended funding to UNRWA must be called upon immediately to restore it. Nicaragua has always supported Palestine and has always supported the initiatives that Palestine has requested in their demand for national liberation. A very important thing that has been mentioned here is that in addition to the immediate ceasefire, assistance to UNRWA must be provided, and all of the war machinery that supports Israel must be stopped in their attacks against the Palestinian people. Those countries providing weapons and technology and aid to Israel must immediately cease supplying this kind of aid, because this is helping Israel perpetrate the genocide that is going on. Nicaragua has stated to those countries that do send weapons and military assistance to Israel that this must immediately stop. Nicaragua has been crystal clear that as part of the Convention on the Prevention of Genocide, there is the international responsibility under international law to do anything that is possible to stop these weapons being sent. And this includes going to the International Court of Justice. We have already notified the ICJ that there must be a ruling on this matter. As always, Mr. Chairman, you can count on all of Nicaragua's support, and we express our willingness to work with all of our vice chairs, and we express our congratulations to them. It is a source of great pride to be able to work with them. Thank you.
I thank the permanent representative of Nicaragua. I now give the floor to Malaysia.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations to you for your continued great work in chairing this committee, and thank you also to the Secretariat and hard work in implementing all the agenda that we have set out for this committee. I would also like to congratulate my other colleagues, the elected members of the Bureau, the PRs of Cuba, Indonesia, Namibia, Nicaragua, and I'm looking forward to continue our very, very close partnership in furthering the important agenda of this committee. And thank you, Minister Mansour, also for the updates on what's going on in Gaza. Malaysia has been a long-standing, strong supporter of the Palestinian cause. Our foreign minister recently presented Malaysia's oral pleading at the ICJ for the request of the advisory opinion. And when it comes to UNRWA, also Malaysia has been a very, very strong supporter with our yearly contribution. And we have also made additional contribution at the end of last year in November. And we have just pledged another additional contribution, which we are trying to disperse very, very quickly. Chair, as Muslim welcomes the holy month of Ramadan and the war wages on in Gaza, very clearly that our work here has become extremely urgent. So I would like to take this opportunity to call on members of this important committee to step up our efforts to increase our pressure on Israel and also on the Security Council to stop Israel's belligerence and occupation of Palestine. Malaysia will continue to contribute constructively. We'll do whatever we can. And me personally, in my role as the Bureau member and also rapporteur of this committee, to work together with all members to achieve our goal, that is the full membership of Palestine in the United Nations. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the permanent representative of Malaysia for his statement. And since I see no other request for the floor, we are going to move to agenda item number 4, which is AOB. And I would like to inform about the upcoming committee activities and events. On the 13th of March, the committee will hold a virtual event on the margin of the Commission on the Status of Women, titled War on Gaza, Impact on Palestinian Women and Children, and with speakers including Deputy Director of UNRWA, Gaza Affairs, UNFPA senior official, and an American Palestinian physician from Gaza. On 3 and 4 of April, the committee will convene an international conference of civil society organizations working on the question of Palestine to be held at the UN office in Geneva. And on the 5th of May, the chair will attend the 15th OIC Islamic Summit in Banjul, in the Gambia. And during the first half of 2024, as per its program of work, the Bureau will continue with its outreach and will seek meetings with the Security Council members and the OIC. And the Bureau also intends to field a series of delegation visits, including to Guyana, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. And planning of these visits is in process, and dates will be shared later. Are there any comments or any other matters to be raised at this point? I see none, and then I will adjourn this meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Matthew.